Perhaps my story will not be to the taste of many. I also doubt that you will ever hear such a truth about business, such an interpretation. I'll say right away that this video will be to the point. It will be different from generally accepted opinions, from those fairy tales that you have probably already heard from various business coaches, about how they work around the clock, depriving themselves of sleep and food. Stories about how they started from scratch, were extremely poor. But thanks to the mindset of billionaires, they were able to overcome all difficulties, not give up, and ultimately achieve success. In fact, if you dig deeper, each of these stories always boils down to the fact that one's father was the owner of a small factory, another's aunt was a governor or mayor, and the third's uncle provided loans at 0 interest. I have no intention of providing you with such fables. I have only the honest truth. So, get ready for another version. Ask any sincere, honest, and rich person where he gets his money from, and he will tell you, if he is absolutely open with you, that at some point in his life, favorable circumstances began to arise. Moreover, he admits to you that he himself does not understand how and why this happened. The right people just appeared nearby, the necessary contracts were signed on time, and everything worked out by itself. And things went uphill. That is, they had inevitable circumstances that led to success and wealth. Think for yourself. If financial well-being depended on abilities, hard work, knowledge, and so on, then first, smart, energetic, resourceful people would become the richest in the world. And second, we would see the obvious superiority of some people over others because of their characteristics. Third, there would be real, controllable tools that would force external circumstances to work in their favor. Fourth, anyone who learned about these tools would apply them and become the richest person on the planet. However, as we see, this does not exist. Vice versa. There are not very smart and unkempt people. They didn't finish school, they buy and sell various goods, and they are richer than all of us combined. The same thing happens with a genius who has 3 higher educations, trainings, sales funnels and scripts. He works for such people and cannot change anything. How to explain this situation? Personally, I know many intelligent and energetic people who are considered failures by today's standards. I also know passive and conservative individuals with fixed thinking. Moreover, they are rich. The paradox is that these people have never attended training. And despite the lack of knowledge about the sales funnel, lead generation, and unfamiliarity with Robert Kiyosaki's book, they still have financial wealth. How does this happen? Let me give you my example. I started working very early, even before I was 18 years old. The first job was hard work in a hand-molded brick factory. Then security, army, construction, car wash, trade, and various other unpleasant jobs. But I strived for financial independence. I worked constantly and at the same time studied by correspondence at the Institute of Economics. Around the age of 22, having saved some money, I bought my own construction tools for a whole team of workers. I made project presentations, reached agreements with several customers, and reached agreements with my former construction colleagues. The first job started. Yes, perhaps not as smoothly as we would like, but everything went well towards opening a construction company, and at one moment total bad luck began. A confluence of various strange circumstances, and the business collapses before it even begins. This was the third call that I missed. Just like the first 2, I'll tell you about them a little later. But I didn't give up, I moved in this direction. Always made new and new attempts, and every attempt did not bring me success. Either the human factor intervened, one of the employees failed at the most crucial moment, the customer turned out to be dishonest, or there was a general economic crisis. There were different cases and they were all a minus for me. Without shifting responsibility from myself, I accumulated experience and continued to persist until I was 36 years old. Until the moment I thought, most likely it's not about me at all, not about the quantity and quality of my attempts. There is clearly some force acting against me here that I cannot overcome, with all my desire. The puzzle began to come together for me, and I immediately remembered the first 2 calls, 2 warnings, which I ignored, like all the others that followed. The very first call was at the age of 17, when I was only 1 point short in the entrance exams to the Academy of Architecture and Construction. And the second warning came a couple of years later. After serving in the army, I broke my arm at my first job at a construction site. Fell from the roof, and not at all due to my sloppiness, just other people's negligence. Interestingly, In between attempts to create a construction business, I tried myself in other niches, other directions, including YouTube, but I have never encountered such resistance anywhere. It is possible that if I continue to try to create a business in the construction industry, then everything will turn out as I need. But this definitely suggests that at that period of my life, some force did not want me to succeed. Always when it comes to money, finances, profits, investments. And the questions: how to make money? How to build a business? What should I do to get it? We automatically begin to think purely materialistically. Immediately, some numbers, graphs, plans, schemes, goals scroll through your head. Anything. And this is one way or another characterized by some material, mundane things. We always miss one important point. This is that the world of business, money, success, achievement, and wealth is not taken out of the context of the universe. This is also located in the same coordinate system, in the same world, which was not created by us. All systems created by man are, in one way or another, subject to the same force that created man himself. Let anyone who believes in the theory of evolution object to me now. But for them, there is a simple question. Who wrote down the code by which all this evolution moves? Who or what started the process? So friends, let's just agree. Let's not argue that there is a certain power, the creator. And this power is much stronger than any of the most powerful and richest people on the planet. Therefore, let us consider the issue of money without missing this important point. There is one saying of the Prophet Muhammad, and it completely changed my attitude towards money. Although I do not belong to any particular religion or sect, no one has cancelled worldly wisdom, and all the great thoughts have already been said long before us. We just need to find them and understand them. Muhammad said, "For whom worldly life becomes his main anxiety, his main concern, Allah Almighty will make him torn among hundreds of affairs. The stamp of poverty will be placed between his eyes, and in worldly life he will receive only what was already originally intended for him. But whose aspiration turns out to be eternal life, Allah Almighty will direct that person to focus on the main thing. He will fill his heart with spiritual happiness and self-sufficiency, and worldly life, whether he wants it or not, will fall at his feet." That is, the point is, friends, that ideally you should be outside of finances. It's not that you should give up money completely, no, but you shouldn't run after them like crazy. The presence or absence of money should not affect your inner world, on your inner state, on your mood. In this regard, one philosopher, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, very beautifully described the psychology of relationships with money. He divided people into three categories. The first category of people are believers, but they are in the world. That is, they seem to believe in God, but at the same time they constantly and fanatically run after money. All their thoughts, intentions and actions revolve around money. This is the first category. They are tirelessly engaged in business. I would add all non-believers to this same category. In general, this is a very, very broad category. If you recognize yourself in it, don't despair, you can still change. Including your worldview. You always have a choice. Choice, in fact, is the only thing we have. I'll choose this or that, I'll do something or I'll do nothing. I will believe it or not. The second category of believers is the believer who is beyond the worldly. Moreover, to the maximum. That is, these are ascetics. These are people who refuse all benefits. Even if they are destined by fate to receive something materially valuable, say a huge inheritance or a big win in the lottery, they will still immediately get rid of it. So that wealth does not push them into the temptations of life. They will definitely give everything to charity or somewhere else as long as it does not distract them from serving and worshipping the Lord. They are such ascetics. The third category of people, Ibn Qayyim called them the most truthful. Their essence is that their heart is subordinated to what the Lord wants and not to what they want. For example, when God takes something away from them, they say, "Praise God, I'm happy." When the universe gives them something, they say the same thing. "Thank you, Almighty, I'm pleased." They do not put their desires first, but put the desire of the Creator of worlds at the top of the corner. That is, if God gave it, then that's what He wants, so He needs it. This is wisdom. because any decision of God in relation to his creation ultimately turns out to be good for him in any case. And if the Lord took something away, that's also good, even if you don't understand it now. You need to be patient and content in such a situation, and you will eventually receive a reward for it. And here I will again share my personal story with you, so that you understand that this really works. I didn't say before that I was born and raised in Ukraine, and all the events took place there. I then had a goal, a dream, to achieve financial success and move to live in Spain. I love my homeland, but I wanted to live in Spain. I was there as a tourist. I really liked everything: the warmer climate, the sea, the tolerant and cheerful society. But it is expensive for the average Ukrainian. It was impossible for me to achieve my dream. In addition, my youngest son was diagnosed with autism in 2019 at the age of 5. Lack of speech, disability, and a lifelong burden. I hardly want to say thank you to God for this, and I didn't say. But I didn't curse, because he knew that many parents were fighting for the lives of their children with much more dangerous diseases. And at the start of the war in Ukraine in February 2022, I was officially and unhinderedly released abroad, since I have a dependent child with a disability. This is despite the fact that I have a military specialty, which is in great demand on the front line. And usually soldiers during intense battles with a specialty like mine do not stay in this world for long. But I was released abroad, and in my car, along with my family, literally in only pajamas and completely without money, I went. Where do you think? That's right, to Spain. Plus, at the right critical moment, the Almighty sent me good people, who provided me with their housing for free, who accepted them into their family circle, helped them settle down and start living again. It turns out that my son's problem, 3 years later, saved my life, and at the same time fulfilled one of my dreams. Somehow, everything happened by itself. Minimal effort on my part. The third category are people who are psychologically and emotionally free from the worldly. They are free from their desires, from their whims. They are practically not influenced by any external factors. They are completely subject to the will of God. They have complete trust and hope in Him, and they do it with wisdom. I personally really like this approach to money and life. I know for sure, my friend, that if you don't change your attitude towards money, you will turn into a slave to money. And you will spend your entire, simply priceless remaining life in the rat race. Don't go crazy. Don't let money affect your mood on your inner world. Moderate your appetite. You actually need very little to be happy. The problem is that we are surrounded by people who impose a certain way of life on us, the level that we supposedly must meet. And because of this, we think that if we don't have money or little of it, or don't have a sports car, branded clothes, a new house, and so on, we think that we are humiliated because of this. But that's not true. We are simply putting ourselves in a box. We succumb to the influence of our environment, that's all. The problem with most people is that they have bad friends, all sorts of stupid parties, regular bars, clubs, cafes and restaurants, get-togethers, drugs and alcohol. Believe me, friends, this is not the life for which the Lord created us. We all need to learn to live truly, gain useful knowledge. We need to start believing our Creator. Believe in His plan. Regarding money and the power of faith, this is also a whole topic for a hotel video. I'll just say it as a small spoiler. Do you know why it is so difficult to eradicate all corruption in the world? It's simple. These corrupt individuals, firmly believe in their impunity. They believe that everything can be solved with money. Worse, they not only believe it, they know it. To get results in your affairs, you need to learn to believe with all your heart in its feasibility. Learn to truly believe. With all my heart, know that God will give you yours. Also, you need to learn to please wives and children who have them. Close people and parents, spend more time with your families. You need to finally make your household happy. Look and think how you can be useful to people around you. Everyone, sooner or later, will need just such a supply of things to do. Good deeds. But not a stock of wealth and money. You will not take anything with you from this world. Remember one very important point. God does not change the state of affairs of people until they change themselves. If you want to get something you've never had before, Do something you've never done before. I believe that someday we will be able to change the way we think about money. We will be able to get rid of this disease, fever, thirst for profit, which now affects very, very many people. Okay, I hope this information will be useful to you. Subscribe to the channel, upgrade your consciousness. Good luck, and see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.